Hi everyone, Michael Cavacini here. Today I want to show you the James Bond Archives. So this is the newest edition of this book. It includes No Time to Die, and this is just re-released this year in 2023. The book had come out, this edition, around the time of No Time to Die, and then it went out of print, and now it's back in print. So it'll be available for a limited time only, I'm sure, so make sure to snag yourself a copy. This is the greatest James Bond book ever released. And it is sizable. I have the original edition of this book, which is actually kind of double the size. So you can see this is pretty huge, just from a width standpoint. It's very thick. I mean, it is the heaviest, one of the heaviest books ever. The original version, I think, might weigh 30 pounds or something absurd. But this one, I think, is 15 pounds or something. It's like a bowling ball, essentially. And it's so big you need a table to read it, or you could read it on the floor. You know, whatever works. But to hold it in your lap and try to read this book is quite challenging. But anyway, this is the front of the book. This is the back. It's the ultimate companion to 007 with more than 1,000 images. According to GQ, this is the only Bond book you'll ever need. It retails for, I think, $80 on Amazon. But it just depends. I mean, sometimes you can save a little money. But, I mean, it's very high quality, as you'll see here. This is texture, fabric. You know, it's the spine, edited by Paul Duncan, and it's from Taschen. So, just really a fantastic book. They do all sorts of books, including Star Wars, Rocky, etc. But let's crack it open and show you what's inside. Probably my all-time favorite James Bond image right there. I just think it embodies everything Bond. So here's the table of contents. So you go film by film. There's a preface and introduction. And you just go through all the movies. And then there's also the Playboy interview with Ian Fleming. So here is the preface by Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli. This is from London, 2020. Introduction by Paul Duncan. Photo of Harry Saltzman and the Broccoli family. We kick things off with Ian Fleming, of course. And this year marks the 70th anniversary of the literary Bond. So included in this book is the Playboy interview with Ian Fleming. I mean, this book is filled with a ton of imagery. As you saw, there's more than 1,000 here. The quality of the paper is very nice. That's great. If you're a type of person who likes to smell books, it smells good. I always thought that was a cool image with the knife. And as you can see, there is a ton of text. I mean, this is... it's got to be the longest Bond book ever written. I mean, it's just insane. But then again, think about the size of the pages. So not only is it a long book, but the pages are huge, and the text is small. So you're getting a ton of content. So even if this were like a normal-sized book, it would probably be at least double the length. Adventure with Attitude. So this is about bringing Bond to the silver screen and everything that went into that. A good way to describe this book is if you think about all the special features and all the Bond DVD and Blu-ray releases, all the behind-the-scenes information that is present there, that's pretty much what you're getting here. You're getting points of view from everyone involved in the Bond films. It's pretty incredible. And you can see that the way that they tell you who's talking, essentially, right? Paul Duncan, Ursula Andress, etc. So that's, you know who you're getting the information from at any given time in the book. Get sketches and promotional photos and behind the scenes photography. I mean, there's a lot to take in here. I know over the years they've had Bond encyclopedias, and Roger Moore's written books, and if you're the type of Bond fan like me that just have an insatiable appetite for all things James Bond, this is the Bond Bible, basically. I've never seen a better Bond book, and I own many. Goldfinger. Many people consider Goldfinger to be the ultimate James Bond film, right? Because for a lot of people, Sean Connery is the best James Bond of all time, and Goldfinger is kind of the epitome, or his pinnacle. It's hard to argue with. It is an excellent film. You can see how they created this imagery. Very cool. I mean, so much work goes into these movies. And you can literally read about it all here. From the stunts to the art direction, production design, the acting, marketing and promotion of these films, and of course Thunderball. Thunderball is a wonderful film, but it also has a fascinating background with Kevin McClory and all of that drama. So you're not going to get Never Say Never Again in here, obviously, because this is an Eon Productions project, right? So this is not going to include Never Say Never Again. That's not getting its own chapter. But the best book for that is if you get a chance to pick up a copy of, The Battle for Bond, I believe it is. It's out of print, but I have a copy, and actually wrote a college paper about it. So that is definitely one to get. Well, they do have Casino Royale in here. How about that? That is interesting to see it represented. You know, I've never actually watched that version of Casino Royale. I guess I should. Just out of curiosity. The Daniel Craig one is spectacular. Just, that's probably my all-time favorite Bond movie. Which is interesting, because he's not my favorite Bond. I think he did a wonderful job. But that movie is just beautiful. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, many consider this to be one of the absolute best Bond movies. And it's one of those situations where you always wonder what would have been if George Lazenby had not, well, blown it. If he had, just stuck with it and stayed as Bond, I think he would have been tremendous. There's a whole documentary about, I think it's called Becoming Bond, all about him, well, becoming Bond and that whole journey and how it fell apart for him. And it's fascinating to watch. He seems like a wonderful person and obviously very talented. He was able to sneak his way into becoming Bond. I almost think of it like the show Suits. If you ever saw Suits, the main character basically sneaks into a job interview, actually not on purpose, just by happenstance, and then gets hired as a lawyer. Kind of bullshits his way into it, and that's what Lazenby did. He bullshitted his way into being Bond. Pretty damn good. Diamonds Are Forever. It's a great photo. Look at that shot. Incredible. Sean Connery looks so different in this movie. Like, not older, just weirder. I feel like maybe they put too much makeup on him or something. Live and Let Die. Right, then you had Roger Moore. I enjoyed Roger Moore. I thought he was terrific. More suave version of Bond. I know some people didn't care for him, but I thought he did a great job. And by all accounts, he was a fantastic person, too. Wish I had the opportunity to meet him, speak with him. But, those who have only said good things. And he seemed to embrace his role as Bond. He wrote books about it, took part in documentaries. Sometimes people get better about being Bond. Not him. That's probably one of my favorite photos. Beautiful photo. The Man with the Golden Gun. I did a review of this. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I thought Scaramanga was one of the best villains. The film itself is, okay. This scene in particular is when they had him kind of slapping Maud Adams around, trying to be like Sean Connery, and it just did not work. So, I mean, it was a good movie. It just wasn't great, right? Oh, and this stunt, it was good, except they had like that slide whistle noise, that whoop, when it flipped, which was goofy as hell. They could have just simply shown the flip and it would have been pressed on its own. It didn't need a little corny sound effect. Of course, The Spy Who Loved Me wound up being what many consider to be the best Roger Moore Bond film. So that gets a whole lot of love here. And that skiing stunt in the opening of the movie is insane. Also, Carly Simon's Nobody Does It Better is one of the best Bond songs ever. Well, also one of the greatest pop music songs of all time. It's just a wonderful song. Beautifully sung. The arrangement by Marvin Hamlish is gorgeous, especially the ending of the song. All these things going on to listen to. It's just a feast for the ears. There's Ken Adam and Cubby Broccoli. Moonraker. I actually enjoyed the title track from Moonraker. I know Shirley Bassey does not. The song doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense, but I think she sings it beautifully. It's a very pretty arrangement and well done. Moonraker. For Your Eyes Only. With an underrated score by Bill Conti. I guess Moonraker is a bit out there, so they tried to, well, as you just saw, back to the basics with For Your Eyes Only. I firmly believe that all the movies are, at the bare minimum, good. And some are spectacular, excellent, just wonderful. But I feel like the Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman and, well, obviously Saltzman dropped out. But it being like kind of like a family affair, I think, has helped it maintain a certain level of quality. I hope that continues. You know, I do wonder what the future holds for Bond. But they've done such a fine job that I really hope it stays within their family. Which is very unique for something that is, frankly, the most successful movie franchise of all time, and the most enduring movie franchise of all time. I mean, for it to be a family business, basically, is wild. Holy cow, I stand corrected. Okay, Never Say Never Again is in here. I swear it wasn't. You know what? I wonder if the old version of the book didn't have it. Or maybe I'm just misremembering, because I'm so used to official Bond books never recognizing this movie. So, hey, I stand corrected, but I'm happy that I stand corrected, because Never Say Never Again is a damn good movie. It's much better than people think. And it's great that it's represented in here. And look at that. They include an interview with Sean Connery, Rolling Stone. That's fantastic, because you barely hear from Sean Connery when it comes to Bond. He's almost never represented in the documentaries or the behind-the-scenes stuff. I don't know. He was just more of a private person, and just, unlike Roger Moore, he wouldn't participate in all sorts of discussions and reflections on Bond. And it was a shame, because he was the original. He's the one that everyone loved. So everyone did want to hear from him. So I'm delighted to see that this movie gets represented here, and that it's not forgotten to time. And that there's an interview with him for this book. Fantastic. I am so happy that I was wrong about that. A View to a Kill. So this really is the ultimate Bond book. I already thought it was, because it obviously focused on the official films, but the fact that you get a chapter on Casino Royale, the original one, and you get a chapter on Never Say Never Again, I mean, come on. Plus you're getting an interview with Ian Fleming, and so much more. I mean, literally anything and everything Bond is here, except for, I guess, the subsequent novels. So you can't have it all, but you can almost have it all. Christopher Walken and Grace Jones. It's a fun movie. Not my favorite, but it has its moments. And, of course, the visual of the bridge. Bond on the bridge is pretty awesome. Living Daylights, Timothy Dalton. Wonderful actor. The best actors are those who start on the stage, right? Learn Shakespeare, and they have a whole different approach to acting, frankly. And Dalton is one of those actors. He's just a superb actor. And I think that that's a big part of the reason why he is so good at being this more dark and brooding version of Bond. But as the story goes, Pierce Brosnan almost became Bond at this time, but Remington Steele continued. It got picked up, and he literally, at the last minute, couldn't be Bond. But it all worked out, right? We got 2 great Timothy Dalton movies, including License to Kill, which I recently watched twice, and I did a review of that, so check that out. I enjoyed it. I thought License to Kill was a good time, and I had no issues with it. I think it was fun. It was definitely darker, but it wasn't nearly as dark as people say, especially in this day and age. Maybe back then it was. The ending is pretty brutal with all the fire and everything, and yeah, that scene, holy cow, craziness. Wouldn't want to be the stuntman doing that. And then Brosnan came in years later for GoldenEye, which to me, the title track by Tina Turner, written by Bono and The Edge, is one of the all-time greats. It is so good. Tina Turner just nailed it. And I did a review of GoldenEye, so check that out. And they just recently re-released the GoldenEye video game for Xbox and Nintendo Switch. There's more information about that on my website, michaelcavacini.com, so check that out. Look at this miniature scene, this miniature set. When you watch the movie, you have no idea it's a miniature. So to see this photo of him setting it up, just incredible. Miniatures are such a brilliant idea because they look real, because they are, right? Unlike the CGI crap, which we get a lot of times nowadays, which, like we were just watching The Last of Us and saw some CGI monkeys, and it was very clear that they were not actual monkeys. So CGI does not really work most of the time, unless it's really, really good. Practical effects and things of that nature are just always more effective. They just are. Tomorrow Never Dies. And Michelle Yeoh just won the Oscar for, was it Best Actress? Yeah. She won for Best Actress. Jamie Lee Curtis won for Best Supporting Actress. This movie is excellent. Some argue that Tomorrow Never Dies is superior. The superior film between this one and GoldenEye. I don't know. I like them both, but I can understand why people might think that. Elliot Carver is such a delicious, I guess is the best word to think of, villain. He's, again, another actor like Timothy Dalton, just sinking his teeth into the role and just so sinister. And it's interesting looking back on it now, and the world we live in where the news media is so dominant, Rupert Murdoch and these types of moguls. It was a very prescient film. The world is not enough. I've not revisited this one lately, but I find something to love in all the movies. Like I said, I think Brosnan was excellent because he was a great blend of the toughness of Sean Connery and the suaveness of Roger Moore. Plus, he looked incredible, right? He looks like Bond. you think of the perfect-looking Bond, it's Pierce Brosnan. And Die Another Day, so this is my first Bond movie that I saw on the big screen. I had a blast with it. I enjoyed it. I loved all the callbacks to references to the movies that came before it. It was absurd, right? This movie is just filled with ridiculousness. But it was just fun if you just go in and you don't take it seriously and you just say, let's have a good time, then you will. That's really the way to treat it. I mean, Bond is not meant to be a serious franchise anyway. I mean, they're action movies. That's what they are. It's fantasy. And I thought Rosamund Pike was spectacular. She was just, first time I ever saw her in anything, and she was just tremendous. And here we are, Casino Royale. Like I said, this is my all-time favorite James Bond movie. I think it was just the first time, aside from probably On Her Majesty's Secret Service, where you had a love story being told. And it had that level of tragedy that On Her Majesty's Secret Service has. Ava Green is gorgeous, my favorite Bond girl. Daniel Craig did such a good job. The action scenes were just insane. And, you really cared about the characters. That's really what it's about. Is if there are characters where you are totally invested in their well-being, then a good story is being told here. I mean, the torture scene. The torture scene is nuts. And, of course, there's humor in it, too. So even though this movie is very serious, there was humor injected into it, and it was just one of the greatest ever. My favorite. Quantum of Solace felt like we know it was half-baked, right? It was plagued by all sorts of issues, which you can read about in here. And it honestly felt like a coda to Casino Royale, like a continuation of the movie. It didn't really feel like its own thing. So by comparison, it was a lesser version of Casino Royale, significantly. There were some great action scenes and things like that, but from a storytelling perspective, it kind of failed to deliver. And that's kind of the story of Daniel Craig's Bond. I feel like Casino Royale was excellent. Quantum of Solace, not so much. Skyfall, excellent. Spectre, not so much. Right, Skyfall is the first billion-dollar Bond. A great movie. I need to revisit it, because I haven't seen it in years. But I do remember enjoying it quite a bit. And I think because of this movie, either because of this movie or Casino Royale, I wound up buying the Bulldog, the ceramic Bulldog, which I have. Wonderful villain. I mean, these are things you need, right? You need an excellent villain for a Bond movie. If you don't have these ingredients, it's just not going to be as effective. And this movie had all the right ingredients. And just like Casino Royale, it had a very sad moment at the end. Right there. Spectre. Spectre's not as bad as I remembered it being. It's enjoyable. The opening is one of the most intense I've ever seen. Dave Bautista, he did a good job. The train fight. And Spectre starts to tell a love story, right? That is continued in the next movie. So it's it's kind of the first part of No Time to Die when you think of it that way. And here's No Time to Die. So No Time to Die, I went to the theaters and saw it, and wow, I loved it. I've seen it twice now. I saw it once in theaters, once at home. I thought it was the best way to end Daniel Craig's, 5-film run as Bond. I thought it was just excellent. Although this character, she deserved more screen time. She was wonderful and gorgeous. So it would have been great to see more of her, have her developed more, because you could tell there was a lot of potential there. But the ending to this movie, oh my God, I was bawling my eyes out. I had no idea that James Bond was going to die. So when it happened, I was just like beside myself. And when I watched it with my wife at home, I was crying yet again. Because it's sad. Really it is. Even though it's a fictional character, we care about him. And here's the appendix and the chronology. And the index, which is quite long, as you can see. And the bibliography. So let's see, how many pages are we talking? 648. So it's 648 pages, and the pages are gigantic. Like I said, it's just a massive, massive book. Right? It is a massive, massive book. So there you have it. That is the James Bond Archives. So if you are a Bond fan, like myself, you have to buy this book. I mean, it is spectacular. I will include a link down below, so click that link, buy yourself a copy of the James Bond Archives. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel for more great content, including lots of James Bond. And make sure to visit me at michaelcavacini.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you taking the time to take an inside look at the James Bond Archives with me. Hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye.